Imagine a world flourishing with life. A refuge, a home, a sanctuary. Now imagine an existence wiped out. An Eden lost, erased, expunged by the greed of man. Dawn breaks over a ghostly land. Soaked in the morning dew, the intertwined trees keep silent watch. It's eerily quiet, yet hauntingly beautiful. When the first rays of the morning sun summon the strength to poke through the misty mesh, it's time for one of nature's spectacles. The dance of the trees. Here in the places where the mist once haunted, the forest calls like a softly chiming bell as the endless comings and goings of nature take hold. The glory of the forest is revealed in the light. Botanical gems such as these gleam in the forest light. These hoary fortresses are citadels of biodiversity and a feast for the senses. Forests support life from the roots to the very top of their crowns. They are truly places of mystic beauty and mystery. The Loita is one such forest blanketed in mystery, climbing towards the sky from the stone clefts of the Great Rifts. 300 square kilometers of a labyrinth of imposing trees straddling Kajiado and Narok counties. These woodlands are a true wonder of the natural world. A perfect place for a true Eden to bloom. Centuries-old trees with sprawling limbs guard this forest that is home to a unique cast of characters. Deep in the crest of the forest and more effective than any law, the flora and fauna is protected by the landscape's craggy terrain. The escarpment is thickly forested and forbiddingly difficult to access. Among the Maasai that live on the edge, this forest is an irreplaceable resource. A crucial part of both their religious and secular life. It's a cloak that covers them from the harsh world. Often a step into a cool paradise filled with the chatter of birds and fragrant plants from the hot hell of the punishing dry seasons. For years, this forest has fueled myth and legend. The community calls it Naimineenkyo, the forest of the lost child. Named for the legend of a girl who followed stray cows into the woods and never returned. Every child born has held on to the forest lore passed on to them by the elders. tales of mystic powers at work in the dark woods have for years kept people from invading the forest and cutting down the sacred trees. Shumpai Bari is a walking safari tour guide in Loita Forest. He grew up near the woods and comes from a family of seers and healers that worship the old trees and keep its secrets, the Enkidong clan.
Hii inaitwa Carissa edulis. Good for backbone problem, using the roots for concoction, and we eat the flowers. This is a small olive tree. It's growing, eh? It's a seedling. Wild olive. Natumia kutengeneza, mostly natumia for firewood. It's a hardwood, very nice one for firewood. Moto yake kufi. And then we use the leaves for incense when you're doing blessings. The only thing we do is feed wildlife, livestock during the drought, and we control logging. It's very important for us. It's a refuge for the Maasai people, Loita Maasai people, during the drought. And as the Ngidongi family, which I come from, we use it to get medicinal, herbal medicine for treating people. For Ngidongi family, we are a spiritual family. We are the designated spiritual leaders of the Maasai people in general. Be it from Kisongo, be it from Purko, Kiakonyokie, Serengeti, Damat, Kombaka, Kilgoris, they come to us. We are the spiritual chosen elect. We are the prophets of the Maasai people. We have the Laibon, who is in charge of how we run it. And there are blessings we do to control that movement so that we regulate the destruction of the forest. We have our chief Laibon, Mokombo Olesimel, who is the, this, if you go into history, this is the Laibon family running this thing. It's been hierarchical, like kingship. So now the active one is Mokombo Olesimel, who says what to do and what not to do in terms of interference with the forest.
The Laibons sit on top of the community's social hierarchy. They are the community's spiritual healers, the diviners, the prophets, and here in Loita, the guardians of the forest.
If you break the rules, we have council of elders, we have spiritual leaders who convene a meeting and arrange on how to punish the person who's going against the designed way of doing it. When you involve spiritual leaders, it means there is something spiritual that will happen to you. So if you flout it, then the spirits come to you.
Yana na juana ori sitima liwo shengo do to get bo o shugo do ngani le mujana ala wo ga do go na wo ni engalanga na langa da dan ko bo kin nyane na de gara o sura ra langa ra na ke ti ento so na ti sitima ni kile gwani ala ki na ga za lo do ngani na asida yo sele na wenyari gara gili wana le kitolimu ninja naado yo limu loso zoita wini ninja naado borno alimu ambaira na isidai ya larungan kulo robugni ngora ni to elanga ne uya na isidai sasa bidi na yugo kini.
While government-protected forests have struggled to remain ecologically viable, this traditionally managed indigenous forest stands as a shiny relic of a vision of a land left to manage itself and a culture that moves out of the way. But even though the forest has for most part been insulated from outside interference, man's selfish yearnings in the relentless pursuit of earnings cast a long shadow over these trees. Here in the shadowy lushness, the forest reveals another of its best-kept secrets.
Loita Forest is one of those very beautiful forests when you go there. And it's a very, very important forest with a lot of fauna, animals who go there. The elephants there. You overfly that place, you will see, even right in the middle of the forest, you will find structures, people building houses there. So don't be cheated by the nice canopy along the road. Inside there are very serious illegal activities going on.
Now some of the old trees are gone, swept away as if by an invisible hand. Farms and settlements are sprouting in the middle of the forest as the population explodes.
They are clearing farms. Mainly it's motivated by influx of people from the outside whose main interest is irrigation farming. And that you'll find it's along riparian lands where you can get a constant supply of water. And now the locals who have who've been not having this access to constant cash flow, I'll clear my farm. If my farm extends to the swamp, I'll clear my farm so that I can rent. So this is encouraged by good roads and influx of people, because even there's a good road and there's electricity, obviously we'll have investors. These people come and invest, they don't really care about the environment, and the farmer wants money.
An urban growth spurt is inevitable, but so are plans to build a road slicing through the forest to the lowlands of Shompole. The community fears it's the highway to destruction.
They want to do a road through the forest. I don't know if they are tarmacking it, but literally it is a project that has been under negotiation because some want it through the forest to Shompole. They say to Ngurumana, but if you've been through this forest walking, it is impossible to go through Antasegra to Ngurumana. You can only go through the forest to Shompole. So we don't know the interest, but it will negatively impact us. They are criminals. What mpaka a log? You know, poaching, it will happen because it will be fast. If I take down an elephant, in the next 1 hour I'll be in Nairobi. Unlike saizi, sababu nikiua ndovu, by the time nafika na Rosura, it's like 4 hours, 5 hours. Tashikwa.
The traditional model should work, but when it's pitted against the other immediate benefits of exploiting the forests, then now the immediate benefits tend to outweigh these other benefits. Now you are telling people that forests are good for the rain, we'll get water and so forth. But somebody's coming with a powers and saying, Mbao is here, timber is ready, and you're going to earn money immediately. So I fear the moment they're exposed and told, now these are the benefits, you're going to get this by exploring this forest, or you can wait for the rain. What are they going to choose? But find an element of defiance also, that when somebody has gone and built a small house right inside the forest, what can these elders do? They do absolutely nothing, other than calling them and threatening curses. Curses again, which don't happen immediately, because you'll be cursed and maybe it will affect your grandchild. That's got no impact. No, the concept of elderhood in our social life almost everywhere has completely diminished, and we cannot use it to protect our forests. It has to be the law, the law, the law. Whoever said that community forests are the responsibility of the county government, that's why we began getting it wrong. They don't care.
The obliteration of the color, the beauty and bounty that the forest lends to this community and beyond is coming about so swiftly, insidiously, and unnoticed. The rivers that flow from the forest nourish communities in the open plains below. The destruction would deny them the resources they need to survive.
The Loita Hills are quite a key water catchment area. So in this whole region, you have the Mau, and the next water catchment is the Loita. And unfortunately, a lot of effort is not being focused on the Loitas as a water catchment. And we, unfortunately, are very good at waiting until after the event to start fighting back. As time goes by, if we actually don't put in the necessary plans to ensure that, yes, people are making a living who are living there, but also ensuring that we protect the environment to continue getting the water to come down.
We are used to picking dead olive trees. You don't kill a tree to get firewood. No, we pick, like for making gourds fresh for sour milk, maziwa mala, we use pieces of an old dead olive tree because it keeps milk fresh.
For Shumpai and the Loita Masai, losing the forest would also mean losing its treasured resources and the culture so intimately tied to the woods.
We do women blessing ceremonies, which happens once in a decade, or half a decade to say, to bless those women who can give birth. And they have to go under the fig tree, the origin tree, which is the Maasai sacred tree. So if I don't have the forest, the fig tree won't exist. We have the boys' graduation manyata, where they graduate, then they go and get circumcised, become men, which happens in the forest. So if you don't have these olive trees or these sites, then that can happen. If it wouldn't be there, so where would we run to as the pastoralists who live in the periphery? Where would we have our cultural sites? So literally, we have no history, we have no life as the Maasai people who live here. Yes.
This community on the fringes of the eastern Mau forest in Ngaram knows what it's like to lose their home and the forest resources.
Majina yangu ni Isaac Cheruiyot, mimi ni mkaaji wa eneo hili. Mimi natoka jamii ya Ogiek, ni jamii ambayo tumeishi kwa msitu. Tulipata wazazi wetu wakiishi kwa msitu, wakisema kwamba wazazi wao pia walikuwa wanaishi kwa msitu. Sisi kwa chakula tulikuwa tunategemea chakula ya msituni kama swara, asali na matunda ya kienyeji. Lakini kwa wakati huu misitu imeharibiwa. Maji imeanza kupotea kwa mito, imepungua. Hata ile maswara tulikuwa tunainda pia imepotea. Miti ambayo ilikuwa inatoa asali pia imeanza kupotea. Na hii ni kwa sababu ya serikali wamelegea kuhifadhi misitu na pia chemichemi ya maji.
They were known as the people of the forest, hunters and gatherers. but much of their old life is now echoed in myth and memory.
Wazee wetu walikuwa wanaenda kuomba kwa msitu, alafu vijana tunatairisha kwa msitu, tunaonyesha jinsi ya kuhifadhi msitu tukitumia ile traditional knowledge. Sasa hiyo maneno karibu sasa ipotee, ndio tunaomba sasa serikali tuangalie msitu pamoja na jamii kusudi turejeshe hiyo mila yetu. Mimi nikiwa mdogo hapo kulikuwa msitu sana, kulikuwa na miti, unaona bado cypress kidogo kidogo inaonekana, hapo kulikuwa msitu. Lakini wakati serikali ilitangaza kwamba wanapeana mashamba hapa hivi, hapo ndio sasa misitu ikaanza kuharibiwa.
Around the country, forests are becoming increasingly fragmented, squeezed in as the human population expands. Like this one in Molo North. In 2010, Molo had over 21,000 acres of natural forest, covering over 39% of its land area. According to Global Forest Watch, a real-time satellite forest monitoring service, in 2020, it lost about 281 acres of natural forest. Here on the edge, some elders are working the nearby farms. They only have memories of what was.
Kwa majina ni Sakau Mbugua Mbudhia. Msitu ni usaidizi upande yetu kwa njia tofauti. Tunajidai kuwa na msitu karibu kwa sababu tunapata hewa mzuri. Ya pili, kuni ambazo tunatumia hata kama ni ya mgongo tunaitoa kwa hii msitu. Tunafurahia wanyama walio ndani hata wakiwa wachache. Hata wakiwa wanatusumbua binadamu lazima wasumbuliwe. Hapa area Molo nilikuja around 64. Msitu ulikuwa mzuri na mvua ilikuwa mzuri. Na tulikuwa na nzao kama pareto ilikuwa inakuwa. Siku hizi imerudi chini kwa uharibifu ambao tumefanya. Tulikuwa na kondoo za kama hii ya manyoa. Mambo mengi imerudi nyuma, lakini si kurudi nyuma, ni vile tumekuwa wengi, mambo inaenda ikiharibika. Wengine wetu wajui haja ya mazingira ni nini. Hata ukiuliza mtu dakika hii, tukue hapa uwe kwa mkutano kama sijasema lolote. Uliza wananchi ambaye tu wanao Kenya. Waambie nimekuja nikiwa mtaalamu ya kusema misitu itafyekwa. Tugae plot 3/4 or 95% wataweka muhuri. Ni kwa nini wamesema hivyo? Waoni kesho kutakuaje.
Zakayo and his group of old friends heard the call of the forest and the song of nature and are working to guard these last old trees.
Inatoa tumaua ikiwa mkubwa, lakini hii tena tunatumia kwa dawa. Wenye ungekuta hapa ni watu wako na miaka 50 kwenda juu. Ni kwa nini? Hawa wamejitolea ingarau wakumbuke vile mazingira ilikuwa wakati walikuwa wadogo. Tukimaliza misitu tutaanza kukufa, tutakuwa tukitafuta kifo ambaye hatupati. Kwa hivyo yenye imebaki ningeuliza wenye wanasikia wasijaribu kuharibu. Vile tungefanya ni kuendelea to claim more forest reserve than we don't have today.
From the tropical jungle to the coastal trees steeped in salt water, to the woodlands in the hills and the hollows of the mountain slopes, forests have left their prints on the face of the earth. but we have torn them down without hesitation. Ancient and full of hidden networks, primary forests are the source of our sustenance and the last footholds against an aggressive climate. They are essential for our survival. But in many parts of the country, natural woodlands have disappeared, and with them, their treasure trove of biodiversity. In some places, the old trees have been replaced by man-made forests. In others, they have been cut down and razed to make way for plots, farms, and timber. Global Forest Watch estimates that the country has lost over 122,000 acres of primary humid forest in the last 20 years. These primary forests take in carbon dioxide from the atmosphere as they grow and store it in their trunks, the leaves, and the soil, providing a shield against climate change. Once they are fully grown, they can continue to trap and store carbon for centuries. Cutting them down not only releases the stored carbon, but also destroys their capacity to trap it in the future. Once gone, these primary forests can take centuries to return to their pristine state. What we lose now, we may never see again in our lifetime. Back in the Loita forest, a group of community rangers is working to protect the last of the old trees from extinction.
Mimi naitwa Jackson Kone, assistant in charge wa rangers wa ICCA, Ilkimba Community Conservation Association. Hapa tunakuanga team ya 17 rangers, 15 men and 2 ladies. Kila siku tunaamka tunaenda patrol, tunaenda kuangalia kama kuna anything new, anything different, kama kuna miti imeangushwa ama kuna wanyama imeuliwa. Wamasai hawakuwa wanapenda ikari mzitu kwa sababu eti wanasema hata miti kwa kimila ukikata hiyo ile kilio miti inatoanga, hiyo inamaanisha miti inalia. Huwezi koza wale watu ambao wanakata kuangusha, lakini tangu sisi tulipoanza kuingia watu wameanza kuogopa. Hakuna ile ambayo watu wanaangusha ovyo ovyo. Ni hiyo challenge tu ndio tuko nayo kidogo, lakini sio sana kwa sababu watu wameanza kuogopa, wamejua kuna conservation inaendelea ndani. Tukihifadhi watu wasikate msitu, itakuwa tukipata mvua kila wakati. Tutahifadhi kwa maisha ya watoto wetu baadaye, kwa sababu sasa watu wakiingilia na waangushe miti, waharibu, watoto wetu baadaye hawatakuta hii msitu.
But it's a race against time. Man is getting closer and closer. So, is so much beauty and bounty then truly doomed to vanish?
When I'm home, I do my afternoons in the forest. Very serene. It's like a therapeutic. With our current activities, I'm worried. But if we develop and educate people on keeping this for the next generations, it will be good. But if you become hungry just for money, it won't last. But I hope God will intervene, that we keep it this way forever.
The clock is ticking for those mysteries still hidden in the trees. For such truly wild places could soon be worlds of fiction.